calm, bomb, depot, subtle, plumber, cupboard, comb, debris, aborigine, abalone, epitome, towards, off, jeopardy, leopard, leotard, devout, is, genre, merengue, debut, air, margarine, says, gestures, fuchsia, coupon, demise, solace, preface, grimace, menace, affidavit, longevity, sweet, woman, mediocre, regime, deluge, nuisance, comfortable, bamboo, aura, beige, cocoa, cacao, loose, penalize, suede, blood, heinous, percentage, coiffure, eyebrow, behind, cedula, example, hippopotamus, envelope, entourage. Betty Butter had some butter, but she said, "This butter's bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it would make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter better." So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she baked it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So that was Better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter. Betty Butter had some butter, but she said, "This butter's bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it would make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter better." So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she baked it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So that was Better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter. Betty Butter had some butter, but she said, "This butter's bitter. If I bake this bitter butter, it would make my batter bitter. But a bit of better butter, that would make my batter better." So she bought a bit of butter, better than her bitter butter, and she baked it in her batter, and the batter was not bitter. So that was Better Betty Butter bought a bit of better butter. The Asian Development Bank will extend another $350 million loan to the Philippines, bringing its total loan assistance to $850 million for relief and reconstruction efforts related to damage caused by Typhoon Yolanda, its top executive said. The ADB had earlier committed a $500 million emergency assistance loan for the reconstruction and recovery phase. Speaking before the Trilateral Commission Manila Regional Meeting Thursday, ADB President Takehiko Nakao said the Philippine government requested for an additional $350 million for the reconstruction and rebuilding phase in the Yolanda-ravaged areas in the Visayas. The total amount will be disbursed after the Philippine government presented to donor agencies the entire Rehabilitation, Recovery and Reconstruction Plan, also known as the Yolanda Recovery and Rehabilitation Plan. The YRRP covers 5 priority areas with specified broad interventions and designated agency responsibilities: shelter and reconstruction of houses, power restoration, livelihood and employment, resettlement and psychosocial care, and environmental protection. Earlier, the ADB released to the Philippine government a $300 million grant from the Asia-Pacific Disaster Response Fund. It was followed by a $20 million special grant from the Japan Fund for Poverty Reduction. The combined $850 million loan will be used to cover up the estimated 2% deficit in gross domestic product or GDP due to the economic losses from the typhoon. The ADB estimated that the Philippine government would need additional financing of around $153 billion, equivalent to the deficit that will rise above the targets for 2013 and 2014. The multi-billion peso in public spending is expected to revitalize regional economies in the Visayas. Typhoon damage is estimated to shave off 0.3 to 0.8 percentage point in the fourth quarter growth, equivalent to 900 million to 2.5 billion of GDP. The ADB likewise estimates that the drop in growth rate for 2014 may be as high as 1 percentage point. Further simulations indicate that the number of poor people below the poverty line could increase by 1.5 million due to typhoon damage. The ADB's simulations point to economic and social costs, which in turn create pressure on fiscal policy. It forced the Philippine government to reallocate budget spending to finance emergency relief efforts. The relief efforts are expected to continue until March 2014. The national government has also allocated spending for rehabilitation of infrastructure, basic services, schools and institutions, and reconstruction of infrastructure in houses to start in December 2013 or early 2014. Government has also started transferring state personnel to the affected areas to assist local governments. Additional funding will also be needed to scale up social assistance programs to assist displaced persons and the newly unemployed. Overall, the additional public spending is estimated at 153 billion, of which 14 billion has been added to the 2013 budget and 139 billion will be added to the 2014 budget. The expected decline in gross regional domestic product in the affected regions will result in foregone tax revenue, which ADB estimates could be as much as 8 billion pesos or roughly 2.3 billion in 2013 and 5.7 billion in 2014.